Welcome to the video demo of Smaply. In the next 45 minutes, I will show you what you can do with Smaply. You can find different chapters in this video and jump to the parts that you're mostly interested in. Here's a little overview. I will start with the dashboard and show you how projects are organized within Smaply. Then we move into the project level and I show you the project overview and how you can customize this. Then we're going to look at the three core tools within Smaply: personas, stakeholder maps, and the core tool, journey maps. We spend the most time on journey maps, and you find loads of subchapters there. Basically all the different lane types that we offer, how you can import journey maps from different sources, how you can export it in different formats, how you can invite outsiders to comment on your maps, how you can share them, and so on. We'll then end with some account settings, what you can change within Smaply, and how to get in touch with us and how to learn more. Let's get started. When you log into Smaply, you will find yourself on the dashboard. I'm going to explain the dashboard now from the top downwards. On top you'll find your organization name. If you click on your organization name, you will see all the other organizations your user is part of. As a user, you can be part of unlimited organizations. This might be useful if you are, for example, an agency or a consultant, and you have different clients and your clients have their own Smaply accounts. So they can invite you to their account and you can be part of whatever project they assign you to. So you can switch between these different organizations up here. Now, if you look at all these different tiles, every tile represents a project. And you can imagine a project as a folder for all your personas, stakeholder maps, and journey maps that are part of this project. Now, when you start new, you probably don't have any here, and you can just click on New Project, enter a project name, and create it to create your first project here. But if you have a few projects here, you might want to sort them. So you can sort them by name, obviously, or by date created, or you can search them by the project title. Now, if you have loads of projects, you might also look for some admin stuff there. So you can also filter projects. You can filter projects either by users. So, for example, in this demo account, there are two colleagues of mine invited. I can check which projects they are assigned to, which projects do they have access to, depending on their role and the rights they have, obviously. But you can also search for tags, so you can give specific tags, custom, to any project you like. You can use that for different teams and check which team is working on which project, or status, like is it in progress or done, or different areas. You can also search for different combinations, obviously. Now, if we go on each project, you can change the color of the tile. It helps you to color code it, and perhaps you use different colors for different kind of projects. Behind this little menu button, you can delete a project. You can archive a project. An archive is interesting if you have loads of projects. You might not need them actively right now, but you want to keep the data because perhaps in the future you need it. So if you archive a project, like I'm archiving our Journey Map Ops project now, it's gone from the overview, but it's still there. You can access this if you click on your organization and click on Archive Projects. And there you see all your archive projects now. Now again, you can unarchive it and you will find it as part of your projects again. You can also duplicate a project. So you can create a whole template project, for example, with a set of personas, a certain set of stakeholder maps and journey maps that you use for different purposes. So you can duplicate a project and you have the same personas there, but you can work on these personas independently because they are standalone copies. You can also move a project. Moving projects is really interesting if you work as a consultant and you want to change ownership from your own organization to perhaps your client's organization. So you can move projects between different organizations. Below you see when the last changes happened in this project. And if you hover over it, you see how many journey maps, stakeholder maps, and personas are part of this project. To access the project, just click on it and you will enter the project overview. This is your project overview. On top you see in which project you're in, and below you have 3 quick links to all your persona, stakeholder maps and journey maps, where you can access those directly or you can create a new one. Now on the overview you see your project title and the description, which you can edit just by clicking on Edit Description or Edit Title. Below you can manage your tags. You can add new ones just by adding a new text and clicking on Return. Now you can also choose existing tags and you can manage ones if you just hover over it and click on Edit or Delete. Just remember, if you delete a tag here, it will be deleted in all projects. Now on the right hand side you have Smaply Capture that we will cover in a different chapter, and below you can add a project branding. Basically you can upload a logo that will be part of all the export that you do within this project. So all your personas, stakeholder maps, journey maps that you export will automatically include the logo that you select here. Below you can manage the users in this project. So currently it's just me, but if you would like to invite a colleague, just select the colleague, and again you can also search for team members and you can just select them or deselect them. As an admin user, if you'd like to invite more users to your organization, just go to your organizational settings and we show you in a different chapter how that works. Now the core of your project overview are of course your personas, stakeholder maps and journey maps, which you can access also right here in those 3 different tabs. There's always a little help if you don't know yet what persona, stakeholder map or journey map is. You can access them right here or create a new one. You see if a map includes comments. If you hover over it, you can delete a map or you can duplicate a map if you like to use it as a template for a different version. Now in the project settings up here, you can delete the entire project or you can duplicate a project if you would like to use it as a template for a second iteration maybe. And you can move a project to a different organization. Now let's get into personas. This is your persona editor. On top you see the project you're working in and the name of the persona. The editor itself is quite straightforward. In the upper left corner you can pick an icon. Either you choose one of our gallery or you upload your own icon to it. Select a color for your persona. Both the icon and the color will represent your persona in stakeholder maps and journey maps throughout this project. You can name your persona and add a 3-character abbreviation that we use in stakeholder maps and journey maps. Then you can choose between different elements. You can add more elements just by clicking on Add Element up here. We have different text elements, a number element, 2 different image elements and a slider. You can simply drag and drop them on your persona canvas and move them around freely. You can change anything just simply by clicking on it and do in-place editing. You can change the sequence of the images and the gallery, for example, or you can move the slider around however you need it. Once you're done with your persona, you can export it. We have different options, either export it as a PDF or PNG, optimized for A4, almost letter size papers. And if you like, you can include an export date by clicking this little button here. There's an export history showing you the exports you've done until now, so you can access those again and download them if you need them. You can also export a PowerPoint slide of your persona and include that in your presentations. Besides exporting, you can also share your persona. If you start sharing, a link will be created that you can share to people outside of Smaply, so you can access your persona simply as an HTML website without the need to be signed up as a Smaply user. As soon as you click on Stop Sharing, that link will be inactive and folks don't have access to that anymore. Right next to it in the Tools settings, you can duplicate a persona. Really useful if you created a persona and you want to do more personas using the same structure within the project. Then you just need to change what's different there. If you like to use the same persona in other projects, you can copy your persona to another project, or you can delete your persona, of course. Now in the upper left corner, you have the quick link to personas. You see the number of personas that you have within this project. If you click on that, you see the personas. You can search for them, search for name. Imagine you have loads of them, so it's easier to find them. Here you can also click on Create New. When you create a new persona, you can choose between a blank template or having a few fields already. We call it the Smaply persona. Now, below the personas, you see stakeholders. Stakeholders is something that we use in stakeholder maps and in journey maps. And we're going to explain how we use it right there. But for now, understand stakeholder as a reduced version of a persona. So if we click, for example, on the stakeholder pilot team, you see it's again the same icon and color, the same name and abbreviation, but you don't have any more details. However, if you like to add more details to a stakeholder, you can convert them to a persona. This is the stakeholder map editor. On top you see again which project you are and the name of the map. You can change the name of the map just by clicking on it, and you can add a further description to it as well. Now on the right hand side you see which stakeholders you have right now available, which one are on the map and which one you can still put on the map. In this case we see all personas and stakeholders together here. You can add more stakeholders just by clicking on Create Stakeholder, add a name, choose an icon, choose a color and click on Create. Once you created them, you can drag and drop them on the map. If you'd like to delete a stakeholder that's on the map, just pull them out of the map. Now, for all stakeholders on the map, you can add relationships. Just click once on them and then you see this little line appearing, and you can connect stakeholders with each other. You can choose either the relationship types that you've already created, or you can create a new one right there just by adding a name and selecting an icon for it. Once you have relationships created, they are fixed to the stakeholder or persona, and you can drag them around and pull them with you wherever you place them. Now, in this template we have 3 different circles, and you can rename those sectors down here. They will also appear as a key on the map if you export it. So you can use this editor to create stakeholder maps, but also value network maps showing where you have an exchange of value between different actors, and even an ecosystem map by adding systems to it, or apps or technology and so on. So you can define relationships right here. You can create new ones. If you don't like to create it right on the spot, you can pre-create them here and simply use them. Nice thing about using a digital tool here is you can filter for certain relations. So you can show all or show none just by clicking on it, and then select the ones you want to see. So you can look for where do we have trust in the network? Where are financial streams in the network? Where do we have information flow in the network? And so on and so forth. If you'd like to export a map, just click on Export. For stakeholder maps, we only have a PDF export, and you can select again if you'd like to include the export date or not. Just clicking on it, and the export will be created, and it blows up a little bit, and there we go. So you have all the data that you need. Again, behind the tool settings, you can duplicate a stakeholder map, or you can delete a stakeholder map. Let's move on to the journey map. So this is your journey map editor. On top you see in which project you are and the name of the journey map. Once you click on the name of the map, you can change the name of course, but you can also add a description to the map. Description is kind of the key, the fine print of the map. It will be added as a small box on your export, either on top or at the bottom, depending on the kind of export that you choose. You can use it to add more details to the map that might be interesting for people when they look at the map. So who's in charge of the map, or who's the coordinator of the map? When was it the last time updated? if needed, what kind of security level there is, personas, you can link to different sources there, and add whatever might be useful for the map. What kind of research method you use for that? Is it based on research? Anything that might be interesting. Now what you see on top are stages. And basically the journey map is structured in different lanes. And for all of the lanes you see in the beginning a little settings button. If you click on that you get different options depending on the lane type. And this little question mark that gives you an info of what kind of lane is this and what can you use it for. So let's start on top. On top we have stages. Stages combine the steps of your journey to give it more structure. Basically in this case it works with drag and drop. So you can move them around as needed. If you like you can divide them just by clicking on it. Or you can combine them again just by clicking on it. So it all works with drag and drop. If you click on it, you can either edit or delete a stage. If you edit it, you can of course change the name of it, change the color of it. If you're an enterprise user, you will have a selection of your enterprise colors that are defined. And also here you can add a description. So description of a stage is really interesting. Let's look at all these descriptions that we have here. Click on the settings button and say show or hide the description. For all elements, you can show or hide them here. So, for example, you can add who's responsible for this stage. When was this stage last updated? What is the higher level map if you like to build a repository of map where you link map into each other? Here's a nice place to link it to the higher one. But you can also use it to give summaries, like what are the main pain points, what are the to-dos? Oh, there's a leadership meeting presentation coming up. We better get going. Below you have the outline. And also here you have the settings in the beginning where you can show or hide the outline. Basically you can pin any lane from here on. If you pin a lane, if you scroll down, it will be always pinned to the top. And you can either show or hide all the title lines. And I'll show you in a moment what the title lanes are. The outline gives you an overview of who are the personas. If you click on the persona icon, you can change anything related to this persona. You can edit this persona, which brings you to the persona editor. You can change it, you can unassign it, and you can move them around. You can add more personas. So in one journey map, you can have multiple personas. You can either add a persona, like we could add Tom now. It would be a blank journey map. You would need to start from scratch. Also, if you want to create a persona here quickly, or just say like customer, for example, like instead of creating a real persona, you can do a dummy one, which you call customer or employee or user or whatever. But really useful is this little button, duplicate existing journey. If you click on that, you can choose one of the existing journeys there and say, I want to duplicate it to Tom. And what's happening then is we get a copy of this journey, including all the different lanes that are connected to the journey of Anna. And you get a duplication to Tom. So that means you can change only what is different. You can use that to give a different context maybe to a persona, say current state, future state, and do a comparison there. I'll show you how a map looks like with two personas in a few moments, but first I want to go through the different lane types here. What we have here is the title lane. And the title lane are actually the same text that you see in the step outline up here. It's the same text. So if I change anything here, if I delete Anna, for example, we're going to see it up here. That is just an abbreviation of it. Gonna get back it. The outline really is just a summary of what you see in the title lanes. And the title lanes are the leading element for all the other lanes below, because the title lane defines how you name this step. So if I, for example, check the emotional journey and hover over it, you will see the title there again. So that helps us to make sure we know what we're talking about. You can hide the title lane if you like. You can move them up and down. We always have these buttons here. You can also move lanes with drag and drop, but if you work on a tablet, for example, or your mouse is a bit sketchy, then you can also use with the buttons, and you can pin or unpin the lane, as showed earlier. You can also change the title of the lane, so all that is customizable. Now let's move on. We have a storyboard. And a storyboard means you can either upload your own images, just drag and drop them up here, or you can use images from your project, from other projects that you have. We also have a gallery with loads of images that you can use in color and black and white. All of these are copyright free and you can use them in your project. We have a connection with the noun project. So if I enter any words here, any keywords, we get loads of suggestions, and you can pick any of those and customize the colors as needed and include it. If you're an enterprise customer, you can also set your own enterprise images here to make sure that you use the similar style across your journeys. Now what follows below is the emotional journey. And emotional journey maps out satisfaction over time. So satisfaction on a 5-point Likert scale from +2, very satisfied, 0, indifferent, -2, dissatisfied. Again, you can change the title if you like, and you can simply drag and drop those nodes around. Now, the same elements here show or hide a lane, so you can hide a lane if you don't want to include it in your export and you hide it. It also means they will not be included in your export, so you can tailor your exports to an audience. More on that when we talk about the exports. Below we have the next element. It's called a dramatic arc. And you see that it uses a different scale. The scale here is from +1 to +5, so there's no negative ratings here. The reason for that is a dramatic arc maps out the engagement of your persona over time. Engagement can also be the importance. So this is useful if you, for example, look at the emotional journey and you have two very negative moments. So in this case, it is when Anna goes through security at the airport and when Anna boards the plane at the airport. Both are -2 on the satisfaction scale. Now imagine you have a longer journey, because this is just an example, and you have loads of pain points. Where do you start? Which one do you need to fix first? If you add the dramatic arc below and you try to map out the engagement, the importance from a customer perspective, you will see that this moment, the security, is very negative and actually really important for the customer, whereas other pain points are not as important. So it gives a second level rating to the emotional journey, and that helps you to create a task list, if you like to say, which do you need to fix first. Below we have a text lane. A text lane means you can really enter any text here. You have a few options, a little rich text editor here where you can change the color, you can make it bold, you can have a bullet list and highlight things and add links to it. Now, a text lane is really the most flexible lane type that we have, because you can use it for anything, for pain points, for description like you see here, for opportunities, for needs, jobs to be done. Think about empathy map, what do people do, say, hear, feel, and so on. But you can also add links to it, links to any kind of other tool that you use. Think about process maps, think about a task list, whatever. It's a really flexible tool. And of course, you can change the title depending on what you need there. If we move further down, we see a channel overview. Now, channel overview, some also might call it a touchpoint overview, depending on how you define the word touchpoint in your organization. Again, you can change it and customize the title. And you can change and customize all these channels. You can add more to it, use icons for it, and describe it. Basically, it shows what are the communication distribution channels we have in place to reach our customer at which step of the journey. Often this also relates to your organizational structure, because different channels are usually cared for by different departments. So which of your organizational departments or teams are responsible for which step? Might be really useful to have an overview of that. And by the way, you can add multiple lane types, so multiple text lanes and so on, also multiple channel lanes. So you can change it and have one lane for channels, But you can also change one and say stakeholders and who is internally responsible for each step. Now what you see below is a separator lane. A separator lane is just a visual element. Again, you can change the title, of course. And that helps you to give more structure to a map. With that one, you can build out a service blueprint, for example. Below we have one lane which is called backstage processes. Backstage processes at glance looks like a channel overview, but it's slightly different. These are all stakeholders. By the way, the same stakeholders that you have available in your stakeholder maps. You can add more here, and of course you can change them. Now, if you add on any kind of intersection here on a step with a certain stakeholder, process, whatever, you can add more details to it. Like in this case, we know the mobile app shows the boarding pass. But you can then link towards, for example, your business process modeling software or towards your prototyping tool to showcase and link to make sure that people know what they're talking about. By the way, these ones are also drag and droppable, so you can move them if the responsibility between team changes and so on. If you like to add more lanes, you simply click on this button at the very bottom of the canvas, and you can choose between text lanes, storyboard, channels, emotional journey, dramatic arc, backstage and activities lane, a file lane, something we didn't cover yet. If you click on that one, you change the title if you like, choose the persona, and that means you can now upload files. You can also choose files from other projects. We have a list of the supported files, so you can upload research data to it, videos, reports, and so on. Let's take a look at those two other lane types, live data and journey map link. I would like to show you these in a different journey map. And what we're going to do for that is we zoom out. Earlier when we talked about stages, I showed you a higher level journey map, travel. What does that mean? You can compare a journey map with a map in geography. Think about Google Maps or something, where you can zoom out. You can zoom out and take a look at an entire continent where you don't see a lot of details, but you get a good overview. And then you can zoom into a country, zoom into a city, and the more you zoom in, the more details you see. The same is true for a journey map. In this example, we looked at the journey of Anna going through an airport experience. So if we zoom out, what would be the next higher level journey map? It's Anna's entire travel journey. So if I click on the next higher level map, travel, let's take a look at how this looks like. There we are. So you see this is a high level map. Everything from the need to travel, to gathering information, actually booking, going to the airport, and there we are at the airport. That was the experience we looked at. Now this is one thing that you can do with the linked journey maps lane. You can link journey maps into each other, and by that actually build a hierarchy of maps. A repository where maps are interlinked in each other, and you can have different versions at the same step. For example, we have Anna's airport experience, but we also have Anna and Tom but we also have Anna's and Tom's airport experience, something we're going to look at a little bit later. Now, how this works is rather straightforward. You click on Link Journey Map, and then you pick the project that you're in, and you pick the journey map that you want to link in. And that's it. You click on Update, and done. So it's really, really easy to link journey maps into each other. And the tip is, at higher level journey maps, the link to them as part of the stage description or part of the journey map description. Now, the other lane type I would like to show you is the live data lane. Live data lane means you can link specific steps to, for example, a Google Sheet. And by linking to a Google Sheet, you can simply fetch the data, refetch the data, and see any changes. So you get an update of how are we performing at each step. You can add KPIs to your map, whatever that is. In this case, we only have numbers, but you can also add text to it. Think about the 5 biggest pain points connected to your ticketing system. put them into a spreadsheet, link it into Smaply, and you see immediately how are we performing at each step. In combination with the zoom in function of Smaply, that becomes a really powerful tool because you can zoom in and take a closer look and see different data once you zoom in. In Smaply, you can add multiple personas to one journey map. Just click on the blue button and either pick one of the existing personas or create a new one, or duplicate one of the existing journeys to a new persona. You can use that to compare the experience of different customer groups, for example, or to visualize how an experience changed if you use the same persona in one time current state and one time future state, or past state and current state. So how an experience used to be, how it is now, before, after a project, for example, or how it is now with the pain points and showing how you imagine the experience to be in the future. You can also use it to compare employee experience with customer experience and so on. I'm going to show you a case where we compare two customer segments, visualized by two personas. We have Anna in red and Tom in blue. So all the data that is related to your persona at the same step will actually move together with the steps. So if you move the sequence of steps, just think about moving that step from Anna. Now look at the emotional journey at the bottom. If I move it, all the data assigned to it, this persona moves with it. If I move back, it goes back again. So you see that all data connected to one persona will move whenever you move it. You can also show or hide all lanes. So you can, for example, hide all lanes from Tom. And like that, Tom suddenly is not visible anymore. Or you can show it again if you would like to do the comparison then. There we go. So depending on the lane type, we either visualize data in one lane, like you see it in this case where we visualize the emotional journey. We see both the colors represented by the personas in one lane. Like you're used to, you can simply drag and drop them to change it. And the same works for the dramatic arc. Text lanes and image lanes, storyboard lanes will all remain the same. They're always single lanes referring to one persona. Lane types like a channel lane or the backstage actions and activity lane, they always reflect different personas in it. You can visualize up to 5 personas in one lane type and you can select the ones I would like to show. Basically like that, you can see what are the differences, the different channel usage, for example, between the different personas. Also, if you export them, whatever you see will be part of the export. So you can tailor a map to a specific audience, showing just one persona or the combination of particular personas. It's a really strong tool if you like to compare the experience of different stakeholders, of different customer segments, or also of different states. There are different options to export your journey map. Just click on Export to see the different options that you have. You can export as a poster, which is basically a PDF or a PNG export of what you see. For all exports, if you click on the little button Export Date, the date will be added, and below you see the export history of all the different exports, and you can download or delete them. Let's have a look how such a PDF export looks like. Well, the basic rule is there, all lanes that you see will also be part of the export. As soon as you hide a lane, like this, there will be not part of the export. So you can tailor your export to the audiences you made it for. The PDF export is vector-based, which means you can plot it out really large if you like. It's a traditional journey map, I would say. The A4 format, close to a letter size format in the US, is based around one particular persona. So you choose an emotional journey because the emotional journey is the leading visual element of it. And you see a draft of how this export might look like. You can then pick those different boxes and fill it with data. So you have a section for a persona on top, then the emotional journey, and an additional lane at the bottom. Let's look at how this might look like. So here you see the export. It's tailored for an A4 or letter size paper, which means after 10 steps, there's a page break and it moves on the next page, which is great if you just have an office printer, for example, or if you'd like to share it with others and they can only print it out themselves on A4 size paper. It's a highly visual export with the leading element of the emotional journey, and then you can add different data to it. So on top you have the persona, you can pick the icon, you can add the name, and then you can fill those boxes. So in our case, we have the quote and average travel budget, how many flights they do. You can free to choose whatever you like here. Also, what kind of information you put into the emotional journey, you're free to choose. So in our case, we took channels and the description, but you can choose others. You have the stages here, and below we added a storyboard, but you can also add more details if you like to. So you're free to choose these boxes however you like and whatever you like to add to it. Let's move on to the Excel export. There are no options, just click on export, and the Excel export, it's not beautiful, it's just Excel. But the thing is, Excel is one of the most used software to do journey maps in a corporate context. So what you have here is the data in boxes in a traditional Excel format. The only thing that is not really traditional are the photos, because Excel doesn't have a solution for that. They're just placed on top so it looks good, but that's it. The other option is the PowerPoint export. And similar like the A4 export, you have to choose one persona for that. So you can just export one persona. And then you have different options, different layouts you can choose from very complex with loads of data to very straightforward with just 2 fields. For the example, just take an example, an easy one with 2 fields. Again, you can pick the lanes that should be visualized in each field. Click on Export the PowerPoint. All exports are working in the background, which means you can keep on working. There's a notice about that. You can keep on working until it's actually done. You see it in the export history right now. We're working on that. As soon as it will be available, it becomes available here, and you get a message about that. There we go. So let's look at that PowerPoint export, how it looks like. Just put it up now. There it is. The first slide is the persona slide, and then it actually follows the rule. Each step is one slide. So the idea is that a PowerPoint export is tailored for storytelling. So see on the bottom there is the stages and the different steps, so you can walk people through it and tell the story of what's happening. And again, it's up to you what kind of information you add to it and what not. There's another way of sharing your maps. It's kind of an export. It's an HTML export. And what you create if you click on share is you create a sharing link. If you have an enterprise account, you can also add like a password to it, so only people with a password can actually access it. And this is an HTML rendering of your journey map. You will always see the latest version, you see when the last update was, and obviously you can zoom into detail or take a look at the entire map. If you like, you can refresh to see the latest version. Well, whenever you like to stop sharing, you just click on yes, stop sharing, and the link becomes inactive. So if I now click on refresh, you will see the link is not valid anymore. It has expired. The last part I want to show you is the comments section. It's also a way to share your map with a particular group of people. Click on the tab of invitations and invite commenters. So you can add email addresses here, multiple ones, just separate them with a comma, write a text and say, click on send invitation. Now folks get an email with a link. Looks similar to the map that I just showed you, an HTML version. The difference now is they can edit their name to it and they can add comments. And you see a few comments here with those little red bubbles. You can comment on any element of a journey map, be it a whole lane, or be it each photo, or be it each text box, or each stage, whatever it is. The nice thing is, because you comment on this specific element, even if you move stuff around, it will stick to the element. Now, folks can also see the comment of others and reply to that. So you can invite, for example, a group of customers to give feedback on that, or a group of colleagues give feedback on that, and they can have whole conversations on that. You can also have multiple comments on each element, so you can have different threads of comments, if you like to say. So these comments work for you as a kind of to-do list, and obviously you can delete them or you can resolve them. So, for example, here's a comment: we should change this picture, that one. So once you're done with that, you simply click on resolve and it's gone from here. But again, you see history. If you click on load resolve comments, you see what was done here, when it was done, and so on. So it really is a to-do list for you. The last bit I want to focus on is the tool settings. So if you click on the tool settings, you can duplicate a journey map. That is duplicating the entire journey map, including all journeys that you've included. So if you have multiple personas in it, it will be copied as well. You can copy a whole journey map to another project as well. Or you can delete the journey map here. There are different ways how you can start with a new journey map. So if you click on Create New Map, you get this dialog where you first have to enter a name for your map. You can then choose to either start with a blank template and start from scratch, or you can use one of our templates, like a service blueprint or a communication journey. Basically, these are journey maps with a few lanes already added, so you can start from a template instead of starting with a blank canvas. You can also import maps that you created in Miro, in Mural, in Lucid Spark, or basically a photo from any post-its on the wall. Also, Excel is an option. There's another way how to create a journey map, not from scratch, but from your workshop results. Well, if we go back to the project overview, you have this Smaply Capture up here. If you click on it, you see that there is a QR code. You can print out this QR code and share it at a workshop. For example, hang it up next to a journey map that you're working on. Now, when folks are working there with post-its, and no matter who's working and how many, they can download our app called Smaply Capture, which is available for Android and iOS. And you can simply then, through this QR code and the app, upload your journey directly into a project. So different people can add their journeys, and you might end up with a few journeys here if you run a workshop, for example. It's a great way how to capture your workshop results and quickly progress them into great looking results. Let's get to the last part of this demo, the account settings. Just click on your username to access the account settings. The first block you'll see is plans and payments. Here you can manage your subscription. You can up and downgrade the plan as needed, change your credit card details, and access all your invoices. The next block is user management. If you click on My Own Login, you can change all the details of your own user. You can change your password, change the color of your icon, and set the language of your user if you are an enterprise customer. As an admin user, you can also access users in organization. Here you can see and manage all your users within your account. You can remove users or change their role and invite new users. We have 4 user roles available. The user role member can only see and work in projects they are assigned to. You can assign users in the project overview. The role of the creator can see and work in assigned projects, but on top of that, they can create their own projects. And within their own projects, they can invite users and delete them and so on. A manager can see and work in all projects, and they can also change these projects, delete them, archive them, and so on. On top of that, an admin user has the rights to change your subscription and invite users, change your credit card, and so on. Now, as an enterprise user, you also have organizational settings. You have some general settings where you can change the branding, like your background images, your logo and so on, define a specific export logo, and set the language for your entire account. You can also upload your custom images and set the colors for your organization. So we are at the end of our Smaply demo. If you ever need help, if you have feedback for us, just send us an email to mail@smaply.com. Or if you're in the app, you can send us a screenshot directly with the button Support and Feedback in the lower right corner. If you click on that, you can make a screenshot, you can annotate things, and you can circle things in and so on, and just tell us what you think, where you need help at. Add your email address and your message, and reply as quickly as we can. Also, if you click on Help Desk, you will find our help desk also on the helpdesk.smaply.com, where you find articles and videos for basically all the features, whatever you can do in Smaply. Also check out our blog at smaply.com/blog, where you find loads of stories from our customers, great articles from our team around service design, innovation, CX, UX, and so on. Just have a look at that with examples from different industries and so on. We also offer a free course called The Basics of Experience Innovation. You can find the link on our website, and it is completely for free, a 3-hour self-paced learning course where we cover all the tools, personas, journey maps, and stakeholder maps, so basically everything we can do within Smaply. As an enterprise customer, you might be interested in some custom training, and of course we offer that as well. You'll find more info on that on our website. Thank you. See you around.